Alright, so back with the fourth video. As promised, this one is going to be a comparison of 3 different microphones that I bought last year. They're not a like-for-like comparison. They're 3 quite different types of microphones that are good for different purposes. I've got the DJI Mic 2. That's this receiver here, or transmitter here, I should say. I've got the Rode Lav Mic 2, which is kind of similar but a slight upgrade, supposedly, on the DJI mic. And I'm actually recording that using the other transmitter of the DJI Mic 2. And then I've also got the Oktava MK... Oh, what is it called? I should have checked that before I started. It's a while since I bought it now. I think it's called the Oktava MK012. I'm pretty sure it's called that. So I'm going to go with that. When I started doing my research into equipment and into audio setup, I discovered that for this kind of indoor recording of dialogue, there is one microphone that is recommended above all others, and pretty much everybody who knows anything about sound agrees that it is the best microphone that you can get for this specific purpose, and that is the, and I'm going to forget the name of this one as well, it is the Sennheiser MKH50, and it's, by all accounts, a great microphone. The only problem with it is that it is about £1,500, and I think you can probably get it for slightly less than that, actually. I've seen them go for closer to 900 or maybe even a little bit less than that, secondhand on eBay. But I didn't feel that I could quite justify spending that kind of money on a microphone. I know that people say that you should just get the thing that you really want rather than spending money on something that's not quite as good and then later upgrading. But I feel like at this stage, the quality of the microphone, as long as it's good enough, is not going to be the limiting factor. There are so many other things that can limit how good these videos turn out, whether it's just my own general inexperience or my inability to, I shouldn't say inability, but my lack of experience in mixing sound or doing any of that kind of more video editing side of things. So I feel like maybe later on, if I really get into this, then upgrading to a better microphone would be a good idea. But this Oktava is described as being like nearly as good as the MKH50, but for a fraction of the price. And I got this one for about £100. I would love to be able to do a side-by-side comparison of this one versus the Sennheiser. I think videos like that are around on YouTube, so if that's what you're looking for, obviously you can find those. But having tried it out a few times now, I'm pretty pleased with how it sounds. And it's... yeah, I think for the purposes of doing these kinds of videos, it's all I need for the time being. The downside of it, of course, is that it is very directional. You have to have it quite close to your mouth, and you also have a bit more setup to actually get recording with it. So what you hopefully can't see out of shot here is that I've got the microphone going into an audio interface, which is the Focusrite audio interface, and then that is going in by USB into my laptop. So it's just a couple of extra fiddly stages, nothing that complicated, but it's just more hassle to get recording. And so for a more low maintenance way of doing it, I've also got these two, which I notice now I should have worn a shirt that has a bit more structural integrity to it, because these are slipping down. So these two microphones are a lot more flexible if you just want to get going and record something. The DJI Mic 2 is very popular. You see it all the time on YouTube with influencers and, you know, people with kind of like low budget setups. It seems to be very popular. It's obviously been marketed very widely, and like it is a really easy microphone to use. I've done things with it where I've like done an interview with me and a patient as a quick like promotional video to talk about their experience. If I've done any videos where I'm recording outside, I've used it for that. And actually the quality of the sound turns out pretty good, given that you would expect that it's quite a big step down in terms of sound quality. compared to something like a directional cardioid microphone, I actually think it sounds pretty decent. I also got the Rode Lav Mic 2 because that again was supposed to be just a little bit of an upgrade and provide a slightly better sound quality than just the transmitter. So if I'm using this, I still have it going into the DJI Mic 2, but then I'm just using this to record what's coming from the Lav Mic 2. Now, I've been surprised to find that despite what people say, I actually think I slightly prefer the sound of the DJI Mic 2. I don't want to influence your opinion by telling you my opinion first, but yeah, I just have done that, so there you go. I find that the Rode Lav 2 is just, it has a slightly boomier sound to it. As I say, I'm not an expert in sound quality or anything like that by any stretch of the imagination, so I don't even know necessarily how to describe what it is that I'm hearing as the difference. Neither of them are incredible sound quality, but I find that there's just a little bit more almost precision, a bit more clarity of sound with the DJI Mic 2. So actually, having got this as being like a slight upgrade to this, most of the time I would probably just use the DJI Mic 2. But so that you can hear a bit of a comparison between what these three different microphone setups sound like, I'm going to read the same extract from a book. I've got, where is it? I put it down somewhere. I've got Anna Karenina. There you go. Just plucked it off the bookcase, and I'm going to record it with all three microphones running at the same time, and then I'm going to play them back to back. I'm actually going to play it 6 times. So the first 3 are going to be without any kind of EQ or compression or any fiddling around with the post-recording processing of it. And then I'm just going to put a simple bit of EQ and compression and limiter on it and play the same clips back, but with that on it as well. So yeah, I better go and grab my book and then we'll get started. All right, so here's Anna Karenina. I don't know why it says Anna Karenin. Surely it's Anna Karenina, is it not? I don't know. I've never read it anyway. Here we go, page 483. After the customary questions whether they desired to enter into matrimony and were not pledged to anyone else, and their answers that sounded strange in their own ears, the second part of the service began. Kitty listened to the words of the prayer, trying to grasp their meaning, but unable to do so. Her heart overflowed more and more with triumph and radiant joy as the ceremony proceeded, making it impossible for her to fix her attention. After the customary questions whether they desired to enter into matrimony and were not pledged to anyone else, and their answers that sounded strange in their own ears, the second part of the service began. Kitty listened to the words of the prayer, trying to grasp their meaning, but unable to do so. Her heart overflowed more and more with triumph and radiant joy as the ceremony proceeded, making it impossible for her to fix her attention. After the customary questions whether they desired to enter into matrimony and were not pledged to anyone else, and their answers that sounded strange in their own ears, the second part of the service began. Kitty listened to the words of the prayer, trying to grasp their meaning, but unable to do so. Her heart overflowed more and more with triumph and radiant joy as the ceremony proceeded, making it impossible for her to fix her attention. After the customary questions whether they desired to enter into matrimony and were not pledged to anyone else, and their answers that sounded strange in their own ears, the second part of the service began. Kitty listened to the words of the prayer, trying to grasp their meaning, but unable to do so. Her heart overflowed more and more with triumph and radiant joy as the ceremony proceeded, making it impossible for her to fix her attention. After the customary questions whether they desired to enter into matrimony and were not pledged to anyone else, and their answers that sounded strange in their own ears, the second part of the service began. Kitty listened to the words of the prayer, trying to grasp their meaning, but unable to do so. Her heart overflowed more and more with triumph and radiant joy as the ceremony proceeded, making it impossible for her to fix her attention. After the customary questions whether they desired to enter into matrimony and were not pledged to anyone else, and their answers that sounded strange in their own ears, the second part of the service began. Kitty listened to the words of the prayer, trying to grasp their meaning, but unable to do so. Her heart overflowed more and more with triumph and radiant joy as the ceremony proceeded, making it impossible for her to fix her attention. That's good, is it? So yeah, we'll listen back to that. I can't give you my verdict on it because I haven't listened to it yet, but maybe in the next video we'll talk about that. Let me know in the comments below. That's what people say, isn't it? It's what YouTubers say. Put what you think in the comments below if you have an opinion, or if you don't have an opinion, then don't do that. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.